Welcome, colleagues and friends. I'm Jeff Whitehead. I'm the co-interim director of Pitt Global and the University Center for International Studies. On behalf of myself, as well as our other co-interim director, Allison Delnor. Say hi, Allison. Hi. Please allow me to welcome you to our annual Sheth Awards ceremony. As you all know, UCIS Pitt Global is dedicated to facilitating academic credentials, programmatic experiences, scholarships, research opportunities, and much more to students, faculty, and staff at the university who are interested in international and global studies. We see ourselves as partners to all of you, helping you achieve your global aspirations. As I am sure everyone in this room fully understands and appreciates, the last 16 months have been particularly challenging for international and global studies. But we remain certain, diligently so, that the work that we do has life-changing impact on the faculty, students, and staff that we serve. I'm so grateful to be here with you this afternoon to celebrate one of my favorite events, the annual Sheth Awards ceremony. I've been attending this event since its inception in 2012. In the past, I had the great opportunity of planning some of these events, so I know the work that goes into actually making this ceremony happen. So please join me first in giving a warm round of applause to the individuals who have helped plan for this year's ceremony, particularly Laura DeVersa, Kelsey Forrest, and the rest of the Global Partnerships and Services team. I also want to extend a really special thanks to a mutual friend of all of ours, Jason Kane, who I saw running around here somewhere. Where is Jason? There he is in the back. Say hi, Jason. For many, many years, Jason shepherded the Sheth Awards and ceremonies more or less by himself. So a special thanks for Jason, who we have now put a village under to help make this thing happen. So thank you, Jason. I'm deeply honored to be celebrating with you again as the host of this awards ceremony. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Sheths and the Sheth Awards, this award and ceremony has been made possible due to the generosity of Dr. Jagdish Sheth and his wife Madhu. Dr. Sheth is a renowned scholar and expert in the field of marketing and is known globally for his contributions in consumer behavior, competitive strategy, and geopolitical analysis. He's an alumnus of the University of Pittsburgh and has channeled his benevolence into the Sheth Award and many other programs at Pitt. Let's take a moment now to join me in thanking Jag and Madhu Sheth for their generosity and continued dedication to the University of Pittsburgh. Each year, the Sheth Award honors faculty and young international alumni who have made considerable impact on their fields and the world, their research and work helping to address the prevailing problems of our time. While we owe a debt of thanks to Jag and Madhu for creating the award itself, I would be remiss if I failed to recognize that it takes a village to administer it, so also please join me in thanking the selection committee, who dedicates hours of their time to ensuring that worthy individuals are recognized for their achievements. So thank you to the selection committee. I now have the great pleasure of turning over the program to the Dean of our Kenneth P. Dietrich School of Arts and Sciences, Dean Adam Leibovich. As our first honoree, Dr. Nancy Condee hails from the Dietrich School, though we like to think that we share her time and services more or less equally. Nancy is this year's winner of the Sheth Distinguished Faculty for International Achievement Award. So thank you, and please welcome Dean Leibovich.
Thanks, Jeff, and good afternoon, everybody. It is my pleasure to introduce a scholar whose intellectual leadership, global engagement, and institution building have profoundly shaped the field of Russian, Eastern European, and Eurasian studies. Professor Nancy Condee, recipient of the Sheth International Achievement Award. Professor Condee currently serves as director for the Center for Russian, Eastern European, and Eurasian Studies aka REES, one of the university's distinguished Title VI National Resource Centers, until that funding ripped from us, and as Director of Graduate Studies in the Department of Slavic Languages and Literatures. She is also a core faculty member in Film and Media Studies and the Cultural Studies program. Her appointments reflect an intellectual career that has never recognized disciplinary boundaries, only the urgency of good questions. Professor Condee has devoted more than 5 decades to the study of Russian, Eastern European, and Eurasian culture. She's lived, worked, and conducted research across the Soviet and post-Soviet world, often in conditions of political uncertainty, institutional flux, and genuine personal risk. Professor Condee is widely recognized as one of the world's leading scholars of Russian cinema, cultural politics, and empire theory. Her landmark book, The Imperial Trace, Recent Russian Cinema, received 2 of the field's highest honors, the Modern Language Association's Aldo and Jean Scaglione Prize and the Catherine Singer Kovacs Book Award from the Society for Cinema and Media Studies, and remains essential reading across disciplines. She's also the co-editor of Cinemasaurus, Russian Film in Contemporary Context, The Cinema of Alexander Sokurov, and the special issue Putin Culture for Critical Quarterly, along with numerous edited volumes and essays that have shaped scholarly debate for decades. Professor Condee has published more than 160 works in 4 languages, with essays appearing in publications including PMLA, the New Left Review, Critical Quarterly, The Nation, and major international and Russian language journals. Her work consistently illuminates the intersection of culture, power, and aesthetic form, showing how cinema and literature help us understand empire, memory, and political imagination. Her research has been supported by an exceptional record of fellowships and grants from institutions including the British Academy, the American Council of Learned Societies, the Social Science Research Council, the MacArthur Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Smithsonian's Kennan Institute, and Oxford University. She has also served as PI on multi-million-dollar Title VI and FLASK grants, helping to sustain the national infrastructure of language and area studies, which currently at the moment is more essential than ever. Professor Condee is also an extraordinary teacher and mentor. Over the course of her career, she served on 54 doctoral dissertation committees and directed 17 dissertations with a remarkable 100% placement rate. Her courses are legendary for their rigor, imagination, and intellectual generosity. As one former student memorably put it, Nancy is the bomb.com. It has been 12 years since I took her medieval Russian history class, and Sviatopolk and Sviatoslav, sorry for the pronunciation, Nancy, are still seared in my memory. Her classes are fun, interesting, and memorable. Pitt should be thankful to have her. I wholeheartedly agree. Beyond the classroom, Professor Condee's service to the international scholarly community has been truly exceptional. She's delivered more than 60 international keynote lectures and invited talks in over a dozen countries, served on editorial boards for leading journals, chaired major scholarly organizations, and served on international film juries in Russia, the UK, Europe, and the US. Notably, she remains the only US citizen ever invited to serve on the main competition jury of Russia's leading film festival, a distinction that speaks volumes about her standing in the field. Her expertise has also sought well beyond academia. Professor Condee has consulted for the BBC, PBS Frontline, the Library of Congress, the Carnegie Corporation, international film festivals from Edinburgh to San Francisco, and major cultural institutions, including the Andy Warhol Museum. A true university leader, Professor Condee has served as the inaugural director of Pitt's Global Studies Center, led the Pitt Map Global Studies Abroad program, chaired the board of the National Council of East European and Eurasian Research, and has been instrumental in building global research networks that continue to shape Pitt's international profile. In more recent years, her work has taken on an especially urgent humanitarian and ethical dimension, supporting displaced scholars and students, mentoring refugees from the region, and helping to build collaborative educational projects linking Pittsburgh with Ukraine and beyond. On a personal note, I am deeply grateful for Nancy's kindness, generosity, and enthusiasm. She is not only a remarkable scholar and leader, but a deeply humane colleague and a steadfast member of the Dietrich School community. In every dimension, scholarship, teaching, mentorship, public engagement, and global leadership, Professor Nancy Condee exemplifies the ideals of the Sheth International Achievement Award. Her career demonstrates what it means to sustain international understanding across decades of political rupture, to build institutions that outlast individuals, and to educate with courage, clarity, and care. So please join me in congratulating Professor Nancy Condee.
Sit down.
Thank you. Well, this was an out-of-body experience. Let me put my glasses on. Oh, it's a full house. Good to see so many people here. I want to say thanks, first of all, to the Sheth family, to Allison and Jeff, Dean Leibovich, Zsuzsa Magdo, Laura DeVersa, and to the committee for their recognition. I'm happy to share this award with Vivian, who's sitting here, a young healer at a time when we urgently need more healers. I also congratulate Dean Casper, from whom you'll hear in a moment, for recognition both of Vivian and of Pitt Nursing as the #1 public undergraduate nursing program recognized by U.S. News and World Report. Kudos to you both. So my task here is to speak to three constituencies, three communities, USIS, Dietrich School, and Vivian's community, but also to be interesting and brief. Let's see how I do. I want to talk today not about my own work, but rather about a research collaborative that includes 8 PhD students here at Pitt. Can I see the hands of the ones that were collaborating in it? Lift them up so raise your hand, for heaven's sakes. Yeah, 8 PhD students who were completing a Ukrainian book on cinema of the Donbass. It will appear next year. It's an English language edition that we've worked on now for 4 years, a volume by Ukrainian scholar Stanislav Menzilyevsky. So my focus here today is not on the book itself, but on the story of the Donbass. And I hope, if I'm successful, to interest you in the Donbass, that you probably don't really think about very much, but in its own way is an absolutely fascinating topic. I hope to bring it to life for you today. So what is the Donbass? It's a vast mining and industrial region. It often is seen as the bellwether for elemental change, as violent as it is visionary. Throughout the entire 20th century, the Donbass occupied a central place in the heart of Soviet industry. The mythology was later recast through Russian colonial warfare as part of the Russian imperial imaginary. It's now thought of, and has always been thought of, as hypermasculine, volatile, unpredictable, and resilient through all odds. And therein lies the rage about who owns it. I speak not as a Ukrainian or as a teacher or even as an expert. I speak as an amateur and an outsider, and I'm hoping to interest you as well as amateurs and outsiders. There's nothing dishonorable about explicitly being those things. Now, one detail about the language. We know by now that we mustn't say the Ukraine, we must say Ukraine. We may forget why we must say that, but that's, I think, now is established as a practice. The absence of the word the as a definite article in English has long signaled international support for the Ukrainian sovereignty of Ukraine. President Putin, you might notice, derisive insertion of the Ukraine has become a subject of scholarly investigation. There are people that only study whether Putin says the Ukraine or Ukraine, and sometimes it changes. When he wants to be compatible, he says Ukraine. When he wants to be vengeful, he says the Ukraine, thereby demoting a sovereign nation to a subsidiary region. You can see why it becomes a topic of study all by itself. Nowadays, it will not surprise you that this goes back and forth, but Putin himself consistently uses the Ukraine. Now comes the complexity. As for the Donbass, you can see where I'm going with this. Donbass is a region, like the Midwest, like the Steel Belt, like the Rust Belt. It's a region. It's not sovereign, and it's not necessarily boundarized. So we say Ukraine, but we say the Donbass. I mention this because in my remarks that follow, you'll see that there's a certain protocol that needs to be followed. Why should we care? For the Ukrainian families who grieve their 82,000 military dead at a time when Russian forces occupy about 88% of the Donbass, our practiced attention to this detail is a signal in part of our capacity to be human. It joins the volunteer work that we do, the donations, the scholarship, and the protest events, such as the one organized completely independently by the Pitt's Ukrainian Culture Club 2 months ago, a spectacular event, beautifully organized, as a measure of how much we are capable of engaging with this issue. An approximate equivalent of our losing the U.S. steel region, with all the rich genealogy and the family and the cultural values, would be similar in this respect. It would be for us an irretrievable loss. One does not need to be Ukrainian to see that it cannot give up the Donbass, as rusted and debilitated as great parts of it currently are. It's about cultural meaning. It's not about transactional value. So, the new research that we are doing in part with these PhD students sitting here and with other people at William & Mary and Penn State together in a research collaborative of about 35 people altogether, including MA students in translation at Kiev, over 4 years, situates the many Donbass films, factory films, mining films, coal films, like US road movies or US cowboy movies. They have their own genre. You can see why this would really matter to them, mining films and coal films, and how they know them by heart, and how they mock them and love them and recall them, and at drinking evenings together, remind each other of core scenes. These, like the US genres, are now within a re-examined Ukrainian culture. This new reading directly counters Russian claims about the region as a historically Russian territory, claims that are relentlessly promoted through state television in the Russian Federation as part of the broader colonial war. This new Ukrainian research reconstruction sees the Soviet Donbass not as a periphery or as a frontier to Russia, but as a core component of Ukraine's modernity, whose representations expose normal and inevitable contradictions of identity, language, and models of belonging. Of course, there would be contradictions, as if we don't have our own contradictions with belonging. When Donbass films are read through the prism of Ukrainian cultural memory, we see distinct elements of this modernity, The cinema studios that produced these Donbass films, Vuvku, Ukraine Film, the Dovzhenka Film Studio, anchored the Donbass firmly within the history of Ukrainian culture, even when the language spoken through the screen is the Russian language and dominates the film. This apparent contradiction, Russian language on the Ukrainian screen, falsely equates language with imperial belonging. We, after all, speak English. We're not English. One may speak Russian, if one chooses, without therefore necessarily being ethnically Russian. It's not surprising that the many Donbass refugees choose not any longer to speak their native language, Russian, for that very reason. And the difficult task, one that will last our entire lifetimes, is to ask whether language can even be disambiguated from imperial belonging. The question, who will rule the Donbass, is one of most acute issues in negotiations today, not only for Ukraine, but also for Europe as a whole. So a final note. In 1983, Milan Kundera's classic essay, The Kidnapped West, or The Tragedy of Central Europe, reanimates the older term Central Europe, as a civilizational geography, replacing the old Cold War term Eastern Europe, which is still around, but we try, many of us, not to use it because it refers to a historical period to which we no longer expressly belong. And where was Ukraine in 1983 when Kundera wrote his essay? It wasn't Eastern Europe. It wasn't Central Europe. It was a Soviet republic. Indeed, Kundera himself wrote at that time that Ukraine was, quote, one of the great European nations that is slowly disappearing. Ukraine could not even figure among Kundera's so-called family of small nations, that is to say, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and Poland. Then came February 2022, the year of Russia's full-scale attempted kidnapping of Ukraine, and the sudden resonances of that kidnapping with Kundera's family of small nations also kidnapped earlier. But the surprise is this: an independent Ukraine, recognized by Western protocols, one way or the other, will become the largest country in Europe, larger than Germany, larger than France, larger than Spain, bearing hopes and challenges that will augur both its continual vulnerability and its promise. These hopes and challenges will endure far beyond the lifetimes of everybody, even the youngest of us in this room, including the PhD students who worked for 4 years with me to produce the book on the cinema of the Donbass. So these are the ideas, however superficially sketched out for us here today, are the ones I wanted to map out so that you'll take it home with you and maybe see Donbass in the newspaper, on television, and think about it in a richer way, of the sort that we're meant to do, after all, at a university. I'm fortunate to be surrounded by people who are internally driven by work. Work is a comforting parallel universe when the outside world is irretrievably disappointing mess. I share with many of you here the knowledge that our capacity for work is a tremendous gift, a comfort, and a solace in difficult times. And I'm lucky to share this moment with all of you. Thank you very much.
Nancy, congrats again. I'm supposed to keep my comments short too, but I'm going to be a time bandit for a minute and just tell you that it brings me such enormous personal joy to recognize Nancy in this way, because we have now been able to measure our time together, not in months or years, but in decades. The things that we've built together with your time in Reese and in global studies has impacted thousands of students, from study abroad programs to certificates to the programs that you do, to the work you do with your doctoral students. You have an unextinguishable passion for education and experiential learning, and perhaps most importantly, though you did not do it now, you also know how to tell a good joke. And some of that is the thing that I appreciate most about you. Of course. I'm now pleased to turn the ceremony over to Dean Christine Casper from our School of Nursing, who will introduce our next recipient, Professor Vivian Hui, this year's recipient of the Sheth International Young Alumni Achievement Award. Please join me in welcoming Dean Casper.
Thank you. Well, I am very proud to introduce the Sheth International Young Alumni Achievement Award recipient, Dr. Vivian Hui. Dr. Hui is currently an assistant professor at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University School of Nursing, and whose work lies at the intersection of health technology innovation and nursing informatics. Though it's only been 4 years, oh my God, since she graduated from Pitt's PhD nursing program. Well, PhD, you know, it's Pitt. She's already recognized as a pioneer in using large language models to drive healthcare innovations. And when I say that, she's been international, Finland, everywhere. Genuine article. So through her research, she supports the responsible integration of artificial intelligence into nursing practice and health systems. This includes the development of AI chatbots to support survivors of cancer and domestic violence. She leverages computational methods and large language models to analyze digital text-based data from online health communities. In doing so, she identifies help-seeking behaviors in online spaces and pinpoints the information and emotional support that individuals need, often during their most vulnerable moments. Her solutions could transform the way that appropriate mental health services are delivered, especially to stigmatized communities that are too afraid or embarrassed to seek help in person. Her interest in computational solutions started here at Pitt. During her program, she learned about nursing informatics, took classes on AI and healthcare, and eagerly developed new technical skills in programming and coding while collaborating with multidisciplinary researchers. Since graduating in 2022 and returning to Hong Kong, she has earned even greater recognition for her innovative use of AI and large language models in nursing. She's been appointed to several governmental committees and has deliberated on topics ranging from mental health to non-communicable disease prevention to technology applications. She's working closely with the Hong Kong government to deploy AI in Hong Kong bureaus and hospitals. And she provides guidance on how to align AI with nursing needs. Her current body of work, as I previously said, is a direct extension of her doctoral dissertation, which was exploring help-seeking behavior in online health communities among women with domestic violence experiences. Building on this foundation, she's led the design and evaluation of multiple AI-driven digital health tools, including, get this, NurseBot, NeuroBot, EmoBot, and SafeBot, each aiming at improving outcomes in nursing practice, trauma survivorship, and patient education. She's applied natural language processing techniques to analyze text-based health data and uncover the needs, behaviors, and challenges from these trauma survivors. In parallel, she's contributed to the healthcare systems and development of patient personas grounded in clinical insight and informatics methods. Her scholarly output includes, it's kind of impressive in 4 years here, 30 peer-reviewed publications and more than, this is correct, 15.4 million Hong Kong dollars in competitive research funding secured as PI or co-I. So in recognition of her impactful early career contributions, she received the Lead Early Career Award at the 2023 American Medical Informatics Association, AMIA Informatics Summit, and the 2024 Outstanding Reviewer Award from AMIA further reflecting her scholarly leadership and service to the field. Dr. Wei also holds key editorial and advisory roles, serving as the editor of Artificial Intelligence in Medicine and guest editor of special issues in Nurse Education and Practice and Discover Public Health. Internationally, she contributes as an education advisory panel member for the International Medical Informatics Association and has served on Hong Kong government committees addressing non-communicable diseases and environmental health technology. Dr. Wei's trajectory is a testament to her sustained commitment to advancing global nursing informatics and technology-driven health equity, and we congratulate her from Pitt and from the School of Nursing. So,
No.
all yours. But
how should you put that in the book?
Thank you, Dr. Casper, for your introduction. So, hello everyone. I'm Vivian. I'm very glad to be here again after a couple of years of graduations. So I'm still handling my jet lag, so I didn't prepare a script here. So bear with me. So thanks. Casper has already introduced a little bit of my achievements to you all. I might want to shift it a little bit from like what an individual as a graduate, like for 4 years, how I actually feel. Yesterday morning, I arrived here with the warm welcome from our faculty, from our members from SON, our School of Nursing, who picked me up from the Pittsburgh airport. And my first beginning was saying, wow, Pittsburgh has changed a lot, starting from the airport. And I couldn't realize, oh, where's the train? The train has gone, and I saw Lucinda reading me on the luggage belt. And I was like, hey, this should be a private area before I go out from the immigration. And then I told her about like, oh wait, this is really good to be back after a couple of years. And we talk about like everything or like what has been changed over these past few years. And this morning, when I wake up from the hotel, I walk through the corridor and also the Pittsburgh campus. It's a very complicated feelings because this is the place I pursue my dream for the first time in my life. So I grew up in a glassworks family in Hong Kong. I never tried to get out of my comfort zones during my secondary or my college school because of the financial constraints from my family. And at some point, I was inspired by another nursing school in the United States saying that nursing is no longer a one-track career. So I started to look over what does it mean. And I started to look over what PhD means in nursing, because it actually is a very, very rare gem to study PhD as a nurse. It's just 1% from my previous statistics search. So here I came to the Pitt to pursue my first dream, and these places give me a lot of my first-time experience. First time to take my driving license, first time to do a surgery alone, and first time to get out of the comfort zones, to meet a lot of new people and form a new circle out of Hong Kong. And about 8 years after right now, most of my friends have moved to other areas. I just have left about like a few of them here joining me today, and they become my second home here as my family in Pittsburgh. So, for all these 4 years, what has been changed or like what has been sustainably moved something from Pitt to Hong Kong is, this is like a bridge to merge my dreams to become reality. And Pittsburgh is still the bridge to merge my network in Asia back to the United States. So I'll cite you an example. I didn't know anything about nursing informatics until I met my supervisor here in Pittsburgh and in AMIR, that's Medical Informatics Association. And I was very, very persist and insist to do domestic violence research. And I didn't know what computational methods, what machine learning are, and why it can be applied to help survivors. And Pittsburgh is actually the place allow me to work with in a multidisciplinary team, so that for all those 3 years, even though we are actually stuck in Pittsburgh because of COVID, I learned exponentially in a really good growth, because that was the first time I keep learning from different disciplines. So let's say software engineers, design schools, and also doctors, and also maybe other like information scientists together as a role. And when I graduated from Pitt, I also put it back to Hong Kong, also put it back to Asia. Whenever I share to others what I want to change in their Asian nursing informatics community, they don't exist actually. We're just building a new association for that with other Asian institutions. So that's what I advocate for the new nurses, for the new healthcare providers. We need a platform for them to work in a multidisciplinary teams. So we started to map out some programs, starting from undergrad to build a new STEM fellowship together. And that's how I feel like coming back the second home in Pittsburgh and also merging my own home here in Hong Kong is actually a very meaningful piece. And I am translating my passion into teaching, into research, and also into service as a whole. And throughout this journey, I'm extremely fortunate enough to be involved in a lot of government committees. And I am also very fortunate enough to advocate for the application of AI and how to craft it much more safer, because everyone is very, very excited about it and want to apply and deploy it in the healthcare settings. But that is very dangerous, right? So this makes me a little bit more gratitude enough to say thank you for the Pitt family here, who actually empower me a lot for all the resources, networking, and also knowledge, domain expertise, as well as give me have a vision how it can be employed, how it can be formulated in a better way, or like to merge the culture in Asia. So this is a testimonial for me to experience first, and then I review it and make it better in Asia community. Moreover, another very fortunate story is, I'm not sure whether you're aware, a few months ago, we got a fire blaze in Hong Kong, which lost about 168 people's life. And it's a huge tragedy and trauma for everyone in the city. So I took up a role to organize a program for volunteer supporting with our psychiatric nurses, occupational therapists, and social workers together. And we mobilized over 150 volunteers within 2 days to deliver our mental health screening and support to the temporary housing sites for these people who just lost their homes within just few hours. And I'm so honored to say, without the Pittsburgh community here, without the knowledge I gained from here, from the community, and I especially want to thank Dr. Rose Constantino, who is also my supervisor here. She was the first one bringing me to the community centers when I started my PhD. On the first or second day, I forgot. And then that was the eye-opening experience for me, because she brought me to a lot of elderly homes on the same day, and also with the seminars in the afternoon, So that was also, I remember and recall myself, the passion of being a faculty is no longer working in the academic world, no longer working in the research, teaching, but also how we can contribute back to the community. And I'm fortunate enough to get this role and to justify how we can actually merge these opportunities together. So my takeaway message today is, don't wait until everything's ready. I always don't feel myself ready when I apply the PhD here. I always don't feel myself ready for getting this award. But you need to show up. You need to tell others why you are prepared. And sometimes opportunity don't go for those who are well prepared. It goes for those who can see it first. If I don't see Pittsburgh few years earlier, I couldn't be here. I couldn't take a PhD. I couldn't take a lot of roles right now and contributing and like pursuing my dream. So thank you, everyone, and how to Pitt. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Casper and Vivian. Congratulations again. You're an inspiration to us all, and it is because of alumni like you that we all continue doing the jobs that we do. And in fact, we're so humbled and grateful that you go out into the world and do such incredible work that it helps us get out of bed in the morning when the skies are literally and figuratively cloudy and dark. And you make it so that even on a day like today, it's partly sunny, we'll call it, for Pittsburgh. That's not too shabby, right? So unfortunately, Dr. Sheth was not able to join us in person this year for this year's awards ceremony. For those of you who have been here for the last couple of years, you will know that there has been a ghost in the machine, and we have not been able to play Dr. Sheth's message. So let's hope the third time's a charm, but if it's not, Allison has challenged me to an interpretive dance competition. However, I have agreed only with the caveat that she goes first. So let's hope that instead of that, we can now enjoy Dr. Sheth's congratulatory remarks.
Greetings. I'm Professor Jagdish Sheth at Emory University and a very grateful graduate of University of Pittsburgh. I want to congratulate this year's two recipients. Both are just extraordinary. Dr. Nancy Condee, as a faculty award winner, is just exceptional. Looking into the history of Soviet-era Eastern European culture, especially through the lens of movies. She has impacted more than 50 students, PhD students, over so much long period of time. And of course, very young alum on the other hand, Vivian, who is making impact in the field of nursing with the artificial intelligence, looking into the future in many ways. Her remarkable journey is just exceptional. So I'm very pleased with the selection of two award winners for the Sheth International Awards this year. The mission of a university is to unlock the potential of its staff, its students, and its faculty. And Pitt does an extraordinary job. How do you make ordinary people extraordinary? And you witness this through the nomination process and the selection process for this year's award winners. This year marks a specific era in my own life. I graduated in 1966, got my PhD in behavioral sciences in the School of Business. And I'm now completing 60 years of my academic career. I've been blessed to be at very good universities over time, and all of this is because of the background, the nurturing, the fellowship, the support I got when I was a graduate at University of Pittsburgh. If you take an agricultural commodity, like a wheat, and make it into a loaf of bread, the value add is only 3 times. If you take a rough diamond, an industrial commodity, the rough diamond, when polished by a good polish cutter, will get the brilliance out to about, and the value add to 15 to 20 times. But if you take a human being, nurture, mentor, educate, the value add is infinite. I'm a refugee from Burma, or Myanmar nowadays, as it is called. Lost everything, came back to my native country, which is India, and I came to America in 1961 to do my MBA at University of Pittsburgh and then continue for my doctorate. Pittsburgh invested in me. Pittsburgh gave me fellowship, gave me research grant to carry out my research, and the rest is history. As a refugee from a merchant community, I would have been back in India managing a small shopkeeping entity, probably earning about $1,000 a month maximum. And I'll be happy because I did not know value of education. I would have been less than a high school graduate. But think about the changes from somebody who is almost less than high school educated, becoming a top scholar because of the support and the mentoring that I was given by University of Pittsburgh. I'm so grateful. So my congratulations again to the two recipients. Both are simply exceptional, and I admire how much they have impacted the society and how much they have achieved. Thank you very much.
Again, our enormous thanks to Dr. Sheth and Madhu for their continued support, enthusiasm, and dedication to the work that we do. We have also spared you watching me dance. Though don't worry, I lost a bet with our colleague and friend Kati Showman recently, and so she has promised to make me sing and dance somewhere in the future. So that will still happen, apparently. In addition to the Sheth Awards, today we're also celebrating some of our students. Our student awards and scholarships, including those from the Foreign Language and Area Studies Fellowship, the Latin American Social and Public Policy Fellowships, the Mitsubishi Graduate Fellowships in Japanese Studies, the Susan M. Hicks Memorial Fund Scholarship, the Robert P. Donnarumma Scholarship, the H.J. Hines Company Scholarship, our Pints Scholars, and our Nationality Rooms and Intercultural Exchange Program scholarships. We're very excited to have some of the awardees with us, so if they're here, let's have them stand and welcome and recognize Arushi Bansal, Vincent Cambonici, Annie Kamerchi, Garrett Deller, Maya Kwiatkowski, Suhas Lakunde, Ava Leonard, Stephanie Aladimiheji, Lauren Rossiter, Rowan Wexler, and Chris Wintz, this year's recruits. Congratulations. To close, I want to thank you all for attending. I would also like to remind you that the nominations are open for the 2027 Sheth Awards. Please use the QR code or see Laura or Kelsey. Laura's here, Kelsey's somewhere floating around here. There's Kelsey. If you would like some more information on how you can nominate extraordinary students and faculty. Thank you so much. Please enjoy the reception. And now for our winners, we'll go ahead and take lots of photos. Thanks, man.